All right, let's talk about German sentence structure. You know, that one thing that can feel like a total puzzle when you're starting out? Well, today, we're going to crack the code. We're going to turn all that confusion into confidence, starting right now.
You know that feeling when you look at a German sentence and it just seems like they threw all the words into a blender and hit puree? Yeah, you're not alone, I promise. It's a super common feeling. But what if I told you it's not random at all?
That's right, it's not chaos, it's a system. A really, really logical system. The best way to think about it is like a set of Legos. Once you know what the basic blocks are and how they click together, you can literally build anything you want.
Okay, so let's start with the two most important blocks in the entire box. These are the absolute foundation for everything else we're going to build. They are the subject and the verb, the inseparable power couple of every German sentence.
And when I say inseparable, I mean it. Every single complete sentence you'll ever build needs these two. You've got the subject, who's the star of the show, and you've got the verb, which is what the star is doing. They are totally non-negotiable.
So, let's zoom in on that first block. How do we figure out who's in charge of the sentence? How can we spot that subject every single time, no exceptions?
Okay, this is the secret weapon. Seriously, just burn these two little words into your brain. Ver, which means who, and was, which means what. If you ask the sentence, who or what is doing the action, the answer is always your subject. It's a foolproof trick.
And that subject can show up in a few different forms. It could be a person, a thing, an animal, or, of course, it could be a pronoun. You know, those handy little shortcuts like he, she, or I that save us from repeating ourselves all the time?
All right, subject, check. Let's move on to its partner, our second, much more dynamic building block, the verb. I like to call this one the action hero of the sentence because it's always doing something.
And here's where it gets interesting. The verb is a bit of a shapeshifter. It can't just show up in its basic form. Oh no, it has to change or conjugate to perfectly match whatever the subject is. It's kind of like it has to put on a different costume for every actor it works with.
Now the good news is, for most verbs, this costume change is super predictable. You just follow the patterns on this chart right here. Think of it as your secret decoder ring for figuring out which ending the verb needs to wear. It works for the vast majority of verbs. Of course, you know, there's always got to be a few rebels, right? A couple of the most important verbs like sein, to be, and haben, to have, they don't play by the rules. They're irregular. You just kind of have to memorize them. But trust me, you'll use them so much, they'll stick in your head pretty fast.
Okay, so we've got our Lego pieces, the subject and the verb. Now, it's time to actually build something. And for that, we just need the instruction manual, which is basically 3 simple golden rules.
Let's kick it off with rule number 1, which covers the most common type of sentence you're ever going to make. This is the simple statement. It's when you're just, stating a fact.
So, take a look at this sentence. Ich lerne Deutsch. I learn German. Simple, right? Notice how ich, our subject, is in position 1. And our conjugated verb, lerne, is locked right into position 2. This is the absolute bedrock of German sentence structure.
So, the number you need to burn into your memory is this one right here, 2. For any normal statement, the verb is always in position 2. Always. If you remember nothing else, remember that. It is the most important rule.
Okay, that's a statement. But what about when we want to ask for information? With a question word like who, what, where, when, why? Those W questions?
Let's ask, what are you learning? Was lernst du? So the question word, was, obviously goes in position 1. But look what happens next. That verb, lernst, is stubbornly holding its ground. It's still right there in position 2. See, this just proves how powerful that rule is. Even when something else tries to take the lead, the verb's place is sacred. It's got reserved seating in position 2, and it is not giving it up. Now for our final rule. This is the one time, the one exception, where our action hero verb gets to break out of second place and jump to the front of the line. And this happens when we ask a simple yes or no question.
So to ask, are you learning German? All you do is you take the verb and you put it right at the very beginning. Lernst du Deutsch? The verb jumps to position 1, and the subject scoots over into position 2. That little flip is the entire signal for a yes-no question.
And that's it. That's the one time the rule changes. For a yes or no question, the verb takes charge from position 1. So let's do a super quick recap. Statement, verbs in 2. W question, verbs in 2. Yes, no question, the verb jumps to 1. That's the whole game, right there.
So, we've gone over the blocks, we've gone over the rules. Let's put this all together into one final, handy blueprint that you can start using, like today.
And here it is, your ultimate cheat sheet. This simple little table has all the logic we just talked about. No matter what kind of basic sentence you want to build, this blueprint shows you exactly where your most important piece, the verb, is supposed to go. This is your key.
So you see, German word order isn't chaos at all, it's a construction kit. You now have the main pieces, and you've got the assembly instructions. So the only real question left is, what are you going to build first?